Bonjour! Last time you saw me make the body and one of the ears of the ram. Today we are going to start with the head, which is what the book probably wanted me to start with, but which I decided not to. And I'm feeling very good about that decision because I'm looking at it now and I have a better understanding of what these abbreviations mean. And it's still alphabet soup, y'all. So, at the end of making both ears, I have this much of the cream yarn left, which, considering I didn't have to make the bottom with the cream yarn, is more than I was expecting to be left with at this point, which means I may have freaked out last episode for nothing. But better safe than sorry in this case. So, we're going to have, this is like different from any of the other parts of the ram because we're going to be working with two colors at once. I mean, these look pretty nice together. So, like every other part of the ram, it tells me the first row is the wrong side. Same size needles as before, just wants me to put on 11 stitches and then just the purl the first row, which makes sense. Like anytime you start with a pattern and you know you're going to do complicated stuff, just add a row of just plain purl right off the bat, or like plain knit, depending on what it is, because it's a lot easier to do complicated stuff when there's a little bit of stuff to grasp at, as opposed to like when you're working with a cast on, especially if you don't specify the cast on and then they do the easy cast on and suddenly the whole thing is expanding on them. I think lots of people assume you're doing the long tail cast on, but then some books never even mention the long tail cast on. They give you two other ways to do it. So I didn't realize the long tail cast on was a thing until nearly 2 decades of knitting. Like only a couple of years ago I realized it was a thing. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. There you go. I had this sense it was like getting long enough. Alright, so now we're just going to purl. I learned how to do it and I've forgotten how to do it. I would have to reteach myself. But most of the time, with many things, the cable cast on essentially accomplishes a very similar thing to the long tail cast on. What the long tail cast on is good for is you know exactly how long something's going to be. The cable cast on might tighten it a little bit at the bottom. The easy cast on also tells you how long it's going to be, but you're going to have a super long tail. That's going to be annoying the first row. All right. This is telling me to do something du board. Just quad du board. I don't know what that means. But it wants me to just knit one and increase. Aha! Row 5 is where we start adding the second color. Good to know. I can tell it's the second color because it says let col B. And then in the abbreviations it goes like B, A, B, B, A, B. So this is going to be B. The cream's going to be A. So it's like, if you're being particular about your color choices, you can go like, oh yeah, I'm saving this color for that. Provided you're not like me and decide to go, hey, let me just use whatever color I want. Oh yeah, if you like a pattern, but you don't like the color the pattern is, in case no one has told you this, you are more than allowed to choose a color that works for you. If you don't like brown and know that you will have a better time knitting a ram, if it's neon pink, go ahead and buy that neon pink. If it gets you knitting, it can't be bad. And I mean, the interior design industry exists because we don't have the same taste in colors. People want different things. That's why we also have all the different colors of fashion. And it kind of drives me crazy when people try to gatekeep stuff. Like, oh my gosh, all the art now is so bad. Like, all the good art ended in the 18th century. It's like, shut up. Like, let people like what they like. If it's not harming anybody, and it's not harming the environment, it's fine. There's a difference between it's not good and I don't like it. So we just do our pearl. It's also amazing, like, when I was studying art history, like, a lot of artwork changed styles because they made developments in the materials. The Renaissance could not have happened if they hadn't discovered oil paint. And Impressionism happened because they made progress in developing that oil paint, like making oil paint mass production. Like, you're suddenly able to mass produce oil paint. Why wouldn't you try to experiment with putting more oil paint on the canvas than you ever had before? You don't necessarily have to put it in the thin layers and constantly water it down or oil it down. All right, it wants me to do the 2 increases here. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to do the clicky click. There we go. Like with the Renaissance paintings, you realize a lot of them change color over time, right? They put a varnish on many of the oil paintings. And I mean, they have different chemicals, and chemicals react with each other over time. Like, yeah, varnish in particular tends to yellow. So there are like lots of oil paintings where we look at it now and we expect to be brown, but if you were to look at it at the time that was done, they were vivid colors. They were like vivid greens. It's just it changed over time. And also, the Victorians led us to think like, oh, the Greeks just put like white marble statues. The Greeks were into colors. Lies. Greeks love colors. It's just they painted them on after the fact, and their paint doesn't last as long as stone, and so a lot of it flaked off over time. And then the Victorians, because of their purity malarkey, also took off a lot of the paint too. So a lot of these Greek statues are actually very garishly colored. All right, so now we're on row 5, and this is the start of adding the cream to it. So now my big challenge is going to be not tangling these two guys, especially since I didn't bother rolling them into balls like I probably should have. So now, oh, it's causing my nose to itch. So now I do 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. So I'm not going to cut the yarn. I'm just going to make sure I drag it across. That's actually one of the hardest parts about color blocking, is dragging the yarn across in a way that it doesn't create like the, like, that's not the, it doesn't create that look to them. You're turned on by that, admit it. Okay. When I was learning how to knit, I once made the mistake of cutting it every single time. And let me tell you, the resulting headache of weaving in all those ends was not worth it. Especially since if you drag it across and then suddenly have a super short end to weave in, it might not be enough of an end to weave in. And I had, at the very least, a pair of Argyle socks come apart like that. In this case, you want to err on the side of it being a little bit too loose in the back than too tight. So that way you don't have that look. But, yeah, that's going to be like that. Okay. But since this is stuffed down, like if it's a sweater where like it needs to be closer to the body, I could understand it. But this is stuffed animal, it's going to be inside the head. It doesn't really matter. And with row 6, we're going to start with the bull again. It wants me to start with the bull on the very, very first stitch. The body worked so hard to avoid that. I guess we'll trust it. Okay. Even though it's going to make it a pain to sew. There's probably like another reason that I'm not currently aware of why they're asking me to do this. That I will find out in the process of making this. But I am not there yet. So now we got the bully. Good news is it tells me to do it 7 times, but I also already know that I have 14 stitches in this section, so I don't really have to count, which is nice. I just have to pay attention to what stitch I did last. Which I did catch myself making mistakes on the body, but I caught myself early. Fortunately, I caught myself in the same row I made the mistake in, so it wasn't much to take out. I was like, and usually what I did was I did the bully stitch next to each other twice. I didn't tend to knit twice. It was more like, oh, we did the special stitch. Well, let's do the special stitch again. We're doing the special stitch so much. All right. I did that 7 times. So now I increase in. See, it has me do the other thing. Oh. I guess part of it is they want to make sure that what is it? The bullies are staggered. Maybe. We'll see. So I do that, and I do the increasey. And why am I talking to my knitting like it's a toddler? I guess it is my baby, huh? So now, I switch back to the B. And I do the bully only 6 times. And I guess part of it is making sure I turn the needles in a way that I don't tangle the yarn when I go back. It's kind of like what I tell people at work all the time, because like we have a couple jobs actually, where it can be very, very tempting to keep turning in a full circle, but if you do that, you're going to get dizzy. So to try to drive it home, I tell them you want to be a windshield wiper, not a ballerina. I haven't actually had anyone tell me, well, I actually am a ballerina. I'm okay with being a ballerina. There is someone at work who did learn how to tap dance in order to attract girls, which it found him his wife, so it worked. There we go. Ooh. It's starting to do that thing again, but I know when I finally sew this together, that part's gonna go whoop. So. Am I my own Foley artist here? Am I just creating like sound effects just to, because I can't think of the word? I mean, and there's so many words in English, you would think I'd be able to think of the word, right? So now, oh man. So now it wants me to increase in the brown part, but not the cream part. Oh man. My instinct is the instructions are so intense. Usually if I'm like not filming, I'll listen to like music if I'm knitting or if I'm like watching TV, but I'm looking at these instructions like, oh boy, I may need some instrumental stuff here. Okay. So it wants me to purl, and then it wants me to do some kind of increase, but well, we have been ignoring all the different increases in favor of the 1. So we'll just stick with the 1. I didn't count. I probably should have counted, but I know where I'm at. I hope. Oh, no. I should have done that the other way. No? Yes. That was an Addy stitch. Otherwise, I would have had a twisted V, and that might have stood out a little bit. Maybe. So you just go almost all the way up to the end. You do the increasey. There we go. So now this is going to tell me to it's still having me do the bully on the end. Why? And still 7 times, but I've increased. Trust the pattern, Becky. Trust the pattern. I know you do not trust the pattern right now, but trust the pattern, but then... Okay. I guess I should count. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh. It doesn't look like they want any bullies right up against the face. At least not at that part of the ram. But it looks like the bullies get pretty close. Okay. Ah! Came loose there. Okay. Ah, wrapped around my yarn needle. There we go. Yeah, I just did the bully, so now I actually have to knit. Okay. Yeah, that's why it tells me only 7, because I have 2 there, which... Okay. I mean, the good news is, since the yarn is so dark, if I do a sloppy job in sewing this together, no one's going to know. Except you guys, because I just told you. So now I switch back to this yarn. And it's 1... Apparently I do 3 stitches. Okay. I do all the increases on one side. What? No. No. That's gotta be wrong. Oh. Ah! There's a mistake in the pattern. There's a mistake in the pattern. Remember when I was saying, like, last video about how, or one of these videos at the very least, about how it's nice to know when the pattern is symmetrical, because then you reach that point, it's like, oh yeah, this is just a reverse. So what it's telling me to do is 3 knit stitches, an increase, 1 knit stitch, an increase, 3 knit stitches, which would work if I had 7. But literally the row right before only tells me to do 5 purl. So there was no time for me to get to that thing where I could do that. Which means you're always going to be 1 behind. Or I could make up for that right now by increasing up to 7. Because with this next row, it's going to increase it up to 9. From 7 to 9. So basically, row 7 is just no increases, 5 stitches, while row 8 starts with a base of 7 stitches, but there was no increase. But I can increase 4 in this row. That's pretty much the maximum I would be able, well, the maximum I'd be able to increase is 5, but we don't want to do that. The entire pattern is purposely not touching the middle thing, because you can, if I were to, when I'm looking at a picture of a ram, there's this line clearly demarcating the face in half. So this is when we go off book. And it works because I'm a smart knitter. Well, I'm an observant knitter. Okay. It's going to have me increase the next row, which, whew. There's going to be no breathing room for this one. Yeah, and again, they're having me do the 8x6 with 2, which that still doesn't make sense because I've increased. Why would it be 6 if I've increased? Yes, I've already done it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, something's off with that pattern too. It shouldn't be ending with 2 stitches like that. It's each one that ends with 1. Someone made a mistake, and it wasn't me. I mean, I doubt it's a translator too. Because the translator is just doing what they're told. It's just like, oh yeah. Like, I assume for a translator, a procedural book would actually be much easier than other things. Because, like, it's very literal. There's no, like, his skin was as soft as the softly falling dew. That you have to translate, you know? It's like, it's more like, no, you do this thing to get to that thing. And that's how you get this. But if I have to keep track of all these mistakes in my head, it's going to be a long head. I should probably rephrase that. It's going to be a long process. I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, that apparently on like those reality TV show things, they want people, the candidates want to talk about it as a process, but they can't because the show producers don't look like it, so that's why they talk about this journey that I'm on. I don't really watch a lot of reality TV, honestly. I was watching like one show because I was intrigued with the concept. I think it was Married at First Sight. And it was hard to get, like, I finished one season of it, but it was hard to continue with the next season because it kept making the assumption that I would forget the premise of the show before the end of the episode. It reminded me of the whole premise of the show every 20 times every single episode. And it's like, please, I'm not that dumb. I can remember the premise of a show throughout an hour-long episode. I don't need to be reminded. I've been watching these people. I know. Yeah. They're missing something here. They're missing something, or I'm missing something, because it wants me, it's giving me the same exact instruction of one, like with row 9, 1 purl, then I do the increase, and then 13 purl. But I did that last row. And so I don't have 13 anymore. I'll have 15. It's not increasing. Unless I'm missing something here. I mean, I don't necessarily understand the instructions so much. But even if I did, it's not the French that I have an issue here with, it's the math. I mean, like English, French is using Arabic numbers. I understand Arabic numerals. does it think I have? I mean, even with the 1V plus the increase was 13, that means I would end up with 16, which means I should have 15 here right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I have 15. Oh, I'm increasing in the stitch. Okay. Maybe I'm using the wrong type of increase. No, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because the sum result is still the same. How I get there is different. Oh. One of my neighbor likes to idle their car for a full 5 minutes before 5 o'clock in the morning. Which, I mean, it doesn't really matter so much to me because I'm nocturnal anyway, or I'm supposed to be nocturnal. I really messed up my sleep schedule yesterday. But I can imagine for everyone else who's on a normal schedule, that sound would get annoying. Anyway, if you hear the sound in the background, that's my neighbor. And it will continue for another 5 minutes until they head off to work because they insist on idling their car even though it's September and it's warm out. There's no need to idle your car when it's warm. I don't really have much patience for idling the car anyway. I mean, because then I feel bad about all the gas I'm wasting, even though it's probably nicer on the car, but it... Okay, I should probably just knit. So... So if I do that, I guess if I just increase in the stitch, yeah. And that leaves me with 13. 3, 6, 9. That did leave me with 13. Okay. So it did not work with the type of increases that I had going on. Okay. But the math was still wrong for the cream part. That was still wrong. Theoretically, I do 4 and then that and then... Yeah, we got the math on the cream part right again. I hope. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Increase. Boom. And then increase. Okay. And then now we're back to whatever this is. All right. So I think I've reached the general point, at least as far as this is concerned. This isn't really telling me to do anything other than what I've already been doing going forward. There's a lot of alphabet soup here. But it's telling me to do something similar to what I've been doing. Okay. Did I do the clicky click? I did not do the clicky click. I should do the clicky click. There we go. Oh, now it's going to have me do a bully next to... The next row, it's going to have me do a bully next to the skin, unlike the previous theory. Okay. Well, I'm going to come back when I made a little bit more progress on the head. And hopefully, like, if there's anything else for me to vent about, I will vent. Alright, I'm only like 2 rows beyond where I left you guys last. And the math is definitely wrong. Again. This time in the cream again. So... Well, in both parts, actually. So, on the top of row 11, it tells me 1 pearl, increase 1, 13 pearl. Which is the same exact instruction that had me do for section B in row 9, which is 1 pearl, increase 1, 13 pearl. Which, once you do that row once, you can't have the numbers stay the same again, because you already increased. It's not like the yarn decides to go like, oh yeah, let me just go back to the same amount of stitches for you. No, they got the math wrong here. And then they had the opposite problem in between the rows for the cream. So, like, literally the row before, is this plain? I thought I paused it. Okay. It has me go, like, the row before, it's like 5 knit, increase 1, 1 knit, increase 1, 5 that, and then the next row it wants me to do 7. But I only increased 1 stitch. So if I do that, now I'm off center again. Which, I mean, in the case of the cream, I might be doing the wrong, like, wait, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, in the case of the cream, I might be doing like the wrong, what's it called? Type of increase. But even so, it doesn't increase that much. The saving grace, and also, like, I followed the bully pattern for this, and now I have 2 bullies on top. I have 2 rows of bullies on top of each other. So I think I'm going to disregard a lot of the numbering for the bullies going forward, because I know from having done the body before, which smart choice on my part, really smart choice on my part, how it's supposed to go. So by doing that, I know how it's supposed to look on the face, because the bullies do not look different between the face and the body so much. I mean, the general pattern, the general pattern of the bullies between, well, the back of the head is a little bit different. But like for the front of the head and just like the general layout of how the bullies are, they're still the same. So I can improvise that. That's not too much of a problem. But so like imagine if you weren't like an experienced knitter and it was like you're trying to do a like complicated pattern and for the first time, and then the pattern's messed up. Of course you're not going to get it, and then you're going to think you're a terrible knitter when that's not the case. It's the fault of the book. Yeah. I'm going to work my way back through this alphabet soup and see what's going on. This is where I'm at so far. I've done 18 rows. I'm about to start row 19. And like as I'm knitting, I often look ahead to see like what's going on. Like I've just largely ignored numbers at this point because I figured out what they're trying to have me do, yeah? So when I'm doing the right side on this, it wants me to continue the bully on the dog part, and for the most part, it largely wants me to make sure I keep this line going, and if I have any increases, it happens right next to it. That's largely what's going on there. And on the back, they may want me to, if they want me to increase, they want me to increase at the end right here. And same with this. If they want me to increase, it happens there. So, last row, they just had me slip the stitch instead of actually working it for the first time in the cream part, which is unusual, which makes me think we're coming close to the snout. We gotta be coming close to the snout because there's only 43 rows and I'm about to hit row 19. But here's where it's gonna get a little bit more chaotic. So row 19, it's just straight up stuff. Yeah, they want me to purl 16, which I got way more than 16 here. I'm pretty sure of it. Let's see, 4, 6, 9. Oh, I have 17. Not bad. Okay. And then they want me to just do straight up purl for this and that. And then in row 20, they tell me just continue the bully pattern. And same with this, they want me to like increase, well, it looks like they want me to increase again, but then just slip the stitch. And it's the bully again. But then there's nothing that tells me to increase. It's like between the rows, at least not the amount that they wanted me to increase here. But then on 21, they want me to just straight up do this again, but it's 14. So I guess in English what that would be like it goes beyond the, I guess we just finished the snap part and it's having me go beyond. I thought it was like a mistake. It's like, why is it not having me increase here? That's how that's happening. I thought it was a mistake, but maybe it's not. Got like a side view. The thing is, they have lots of pictures, but I'm only ever really given a front view and a back view. I'm not given a side view of. Yeah, I'm not ever really given a side view of the ram. So if I was given a side view of the ram, I feel like that would be more helpful for explaining this particular instruction. But we'll go with it. We'll see. Also, remember what I was saying, like, I want to make sure I don't do it too tight. I did it too tight. I should listen to my own advice. Because this is clearly not, I mean, when I stuff it, it's not really going to matter, but the stuffing's going to have to navigate the yarn. That's going to be a nightmare. So I'm going to have to figure out if I want it to breathe before or after. But now I'm thinking, I thought it was a mistake, but maybe it's not. Anyway, like, I was looking through the patterns, like, why is it not having me decrease yet? It should be having me decrease. It doesn't have me decrease until the 23rd row. At this point, we're just going to have to trust the book. I mean, I just watched Interstellar, and they have these, like, rectangular ex-military robots they call, like, TARS and Case, and I think they also have one called Kip. But TARS had, like, a humor setting of 100%, and it's like they lowered it to 75, and TARS had an honesty level of 90%. And it kind of becomes like an inside joke between Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway throughout the movie. And I feel that's like where I'm with this book. Like, we started at 100%. But with the struggles here, I'm now trusting it like 90%. Because even though I'm struggling like hell with this particular part of the pattern, everything else went relatively smoothly. Even like the legs, like I complained about the legs while I was making them, but I figured it out. There's a gap, but it looks like the thing. This, I'm not entirely sure is going to look like the picture when it's done, at least as far as the head's concerned. Anyway, I'll get back to this. I finished knitting the head. This is the head. But it's not ready to be called done. For a variety of reasons. So I was like too tight with this, especially as it started decreasing. The length in which I needed to pull the yarn was less. So I pulled less, and then now if I were to stuff it, I wouldn't be able to get the yarn inside. But also, if you can see like right through here, my fingers can go completely inside the one side. It's not going to be able to hold stuff in like that. It's constantly going to be like, that's like the knitting equivalent of having like an open sore on your mouth and have it just like oozing. It would be like oozing the stuffing, which we don't want that for our ram. So I'm going to have to cut all these little ends in and weave them in, especially weave this end in right here because it's a little bit too short. It's like something's going to come out. We don't want that. Also, the math did not work out. As I was knitting it, like it's supposed to be symmetrical on one side. At one point, I found I had like 12 stitches on this side, but 14 stitches on that side. And it's like, how did that happen? I don't know how I did that. So I found a way to like fix it, but then when I had to go back to the one color, it didn't, like, the pattern's been like, make a bully, then make a stitch, then make a bully, make a stitch. There's one point where that wouldn't have worked. And it was like, oh, so it's going to have like a little like flat part on above its like right eye. Which thankfully, because the yarn is very dark, it's not going to notice it. Now, that means I'm finished using this yarn. for the different body parts, which, because I was pulling it from the inside, it's kind of like a desiccated husk at this point. And I had this much cream left, which means that entire freak out I had earlier was for nothing. Isn't it nice when you have freakouts for nothing? Just like, I'm gonna have enough to sew the legs. I'm gonna have enough. I could have stuck with my original plan, but it is what it is. Anyway, now I've got one body part left to make, and that is the horns. So I'm going to put that yarn over here. We're finally going to be able to use this color. I hope this is, yeah, okay. Reset my counter. There we go. And right away, it has an instruction I do not understand. It also has an abbreviation I do not understand. What is... It's the first time I'm seeing the abbreviation for J. What does J stand for? Well, it wants me to start off with 18 stitches on the hook. Does it say? J. Jete. So when we look at the picture, is that a type of increase? I'm going to assume it's a type of increase because it's having me like increase one, but then it automatically like, it starts with a decrease on the third row. And then on row 8, despite all these like increases and decreases, I still have the same amount of stitches on my needle. Which confusing. So confusing. We are in grown-up territory now. I mean, I've been a grown-up for a good third of my life at this point, but there we go. It also has the instruction tourneur les traves. I'm going to assume tourneur is a cognate, and it just wants me to turn, especially since it tells me to do stitches like the row's done, but I haven't done all the stitches on the needle. Also wants me to start on the wrong side. We're definitely going to do the cable cast on here because it's being weird. Like I start the weird turning without doing anything with that. I'm guessing it's having me do these turns because it wants to get like that curve hook to it, and that would be a way to do it. I forgot to count how many stitches were on the needle again. I should probably count. 3, 6, 9, 10. Okay, I only have 2 more left to go. All right. So now that I have 12, it wants me to start with purl. No. I start with 18 on the needle. 12 is how much I'm actually going to complete. Okay. So that's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, and 18. Let's get myself started on the right foot here. There we go. 18, 4, 8, 12, 16, 18. There we go. So now I do 12 pearls and then I turn. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I wonder if Jetes is in the back of the book. I know I've looked at this before, but... Nope. No. It doesn't have it. Wait. Oh, assembling l'animal. No, it doesn't have it. We are on our own here. Okay. You know, I'll do that later. I was going to write something down, but I'll make that list later. So, I guess we're going to turn it around. Then I'm going to assume that's an increase. And then 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Also, earlier in the pattern with the increases, I made the assumption that the increase would just be like pulling the stitch from the middle of the 2 stitches below it. This time I'm going with the opposite assumption where I just make the increase out of the stitch that's right in front of me. Especially since it's already having me do like these turns like right off the bat, and I don't, like, there's not really anything to pull from here. So 3, I do one of those increases again. Is this supposed to be like short rows? This is definitely short rows. Then 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now they're having me do the first decrease. Which is right where the turn happened. Okay. And then purl 1, and then we're going to turn. So now it's having me do an increase. Then I do 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the decrease happens right where it goes like that. Yep, and then I get it now. Okay. And then 5, it wants me to do that. So what it's having me do right now is called short rows. Short rows is when you only do part of the row of the stitching, and then you turn around before you finish, and then you go back the other way. It's used for In clothing, it's used a lot to give like a curve to something, especially if you got boobs and you want to have space for the boobs without making the rest of the shirt overly big because you want to emphasize the boobs. um, or if it's like you're coming up, I've also seen it, I think, when you're like coming up towards the neck and you want to have the clothing rest more squarely across your shoulders instead of just having like the blunt t-shirt cut. But I think this is like one of the first times I've done it for a stuffed animal. I was doing 10, yeah? Yeah. Well, technically I shouldn't have to count because I can just go to that point. No, I still needed to count. Where was I? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then, oh, it wants me to do that type of decrease. There we go. And then we turn again. And then it's having me do that. Then 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the decrease in the 1 stitch. Okay. And with this, all the stitches, like with the next 2 rows, eventually all the stitches will be together. And we'll have, you can already see there's like a curve coming up. So we do that. Increase again. And then it has the Disqua board instruction again, which I still don't know what that means, but so far I've been able to disregard it and nothing bad has come about, so we're just going to keep on disregarding it. Wait. Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe, oh, you know what? I did that decrease and like I still got 1 stitch left, so I guess it's just the instruction. Usually when I've been doing that, it's like keep the same, so we'll just do that stitch. Whew. And then I should be able to do 16 with the next row. And then 1 decrease and have that left. So we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then it wants me to decrease. Do the 1 stitch. And row 9 just says Alend. It's literally A with a backwards accent mark, L, the apostrophe, and then the word N. So I'm guessing I just purl the entire row, which is the simplest row in the horn so far. which will go pretty quickly. There we go. So it looks like at this point, the rest of the pattern is largely the same. Let's do more short rows, and it's just literally the same. Like, I increase, decrease, increase, decrease. At some point, I'm going to do a purl row instead. Oh, yeah, there it is. I land. Oh, so that's basically just... Oh, wait. Oh! That row is not as simple as I thought it was going to be. This was the first one. So I gotta take it out now and redo it. Because enjoy is knitting. Yeah. It's all good though. There we go. So we just flip it around and we just do that row again, but instead of purling it like I did, we're going to knit it. Oh yeah, I put the stitches back on the needle in a weird way. I want to make sure the yarn doesn't get twisted on me. There we go. So that must be the pattern. I'm guessing. Wait. No, I was thinking like, is it by 9s? But then I'm looking at the picture and it gets closer and closer with each time. This is just like the biggest part. There we go. So now you can kind of see there's like a ridge that's different from the rest of it. So now when it wants me to do the short rows and whatnot, it makes more sense. Okay. So I'm going to check back in when I've made a little bit more progress on the horn. I've only gotten a few rows in, but I think I've come across another point in the pattern. I'm confused because, like, I'm following, like, this time I don't think it's the pattern fault. I think it's me. I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong. Because when I last shut the camera off, I had just switched that part where I redid it. And then I knit. It's like knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Now, like, I think I clicked this at a wrong point because 15 I should have purled, but I knit row 15. And I don't have like any other like rows in between. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to take this out down to the last row that I know is right, which was row 9. And boy, I wish I had my knitting friend who could just take care of that for me, but she's not here right now, so we're just gonna, I think that is safe. And I have till here, yeah? I think. Because it's short rows. Oop. Gonna save that one. Save that one. Oh, wait. No, not yet. Okay. So I should have 18 stitches on the needle. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Okay. So now I gotta reset my knit counter. Oh, no, I shouldn't have reset it that far. So now I'm back at row 9. And we're gonna try following the instructions again. And hopefully, if I pay really, really close attention to these instructions, I should be exactly where I think I'm supposed to be. Crisis averted. I am where I'm supposed to be, which is like, whoo. So I did find a mistake that I made in here, but it doesn't explain the mistake that led me to double check the pattern. So, I still don't know how I did that. But now I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and all is right with the world for the moment. So this is where I'm at so far. I just got to decrease stuff on this side, and then I'll be decreasing stuff on this side, and then I'll have another one of these things. So also, I'm not sure if I've been doing the right type of increases, because these increases stand out, and this is the part that should stand out most in the horns from the picture. But it is what it is. So, c'est la vie. It's done. And so is Buddy. Which means with the completion of this, I now have all the required body parts in order to put the ram together. And with this, I will be able to get started on the clothing, but this is like hitting the halfway point, honestly, like the big part. So there are instructions for how to put together the mascots, or mascotes as they mention, which if I go over here, 112. Oh! Okay, so like 2 videos ago when I was like, I don't understand, how did they do this? I don't understand when it came to the foot. They just binded off the 18 and then they sewed it after the fact. That's what this picture is. But I got the same effect through knitting, so. And then it looks like it wants me to do something to really define the thumb. I really don't know if that's going to happen. That probably will not end up happening. And then it's kind of like a special stitch. They're doing like a special stitch here to like kind of get the same bully effect, but with sewing. Again, don't know if that's going to happen. And then, yeah, here it has special little instructions on the horns of the ram. Oh yeah, and then it has special instructions on the ears, which I kind of figured out from how it was like sewn together how it was going to work. Anyway, I'm going to go sew it all together now, so I'll see you in a bit. And here's our ram. He's a big boy. And I did not stuff the limbs evenly. Like, one of the legs is definitely much harder than the other. His head's a bit wobbly. But I think I got pretty close to the picture, so why did I shut the book? There you go. So, I mean, this was what I was trying to work towards, and this is what I have. So, I'm pretty close. You can tell that was the reference picture. And it was funny, like, with the pattern, I forgot to mention with the horns, there was one point where it gave me the abbreviation P1, which there were no abbreviations that start with the letter P, so, but in English that would be Pearl 1. So, what could be the case is this book was actually written in English, and then got translated into French, and I just happened to get the French version. Which would be kind of hilarious if that was true. And as you could probably tell from the picture earlier, like, all the pictures of the ram I showed you had the horns going around the ears like that, but I decided to just put the horns like this, which, I mean, is making the head a little bit less stable maybe, but I did sew them on this way because I didn't want the horns, like, hiding the eyes, poking him in the eyes. And I put the safety eyes on instead of the actual buttons. When it came to this part right here, if you remember, like, the mess that I showed you in the back, I just ended up, like, snipping all that, and then I just knotted it. I didn't bother weaving the ends in. I just knotted it because it was going to be inside, and no one was going to see. So, it got it a lot closer to, like, here this was, like, completely open, like, you could put your finger in it. That's fixed now. And, like, there was more space for, like, yarn to fill it up. Not yarn, but fill. Also, I ran out of filling when I made this. I had to go buy a new box of filling, of, like, stuffing, in order to finish this guy, because I wanted to finish him today. And, like, every stuffed animal I ever make, his head is wonky. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end this part of the video. The next time, we are going to be making clothes for him, because, like, I would just end it like this usually, but the patterns of this book include clothes. And I did not realize till just now there's an LPN sticker on the book, which means it was a used book, but I bought it new. Sorry, I see LPN stickers at work all the time. I can't believe it didn't catch my attention till now. Anyway, yeah, the next time we're going to be making clothes for the ram, because the creator of the pattern has clothes for the ram, and we're going to do the whole thing. Anyway, that was today's entertainment. Have a nice day. Au revoir.